We are new family milk cow owners, and there are already a couple things that I wish we would have known before we got our dairy cow and her calf. And I'm hoping to share this with you today so that you might feel a little bit more prepared before you bring a dairy cow onto your homestead. Now, I'm going to say my kids are running around. My baby is right in front of me, so if you hear a couple coos or a couple of happy screams, that's what's going on. These are in no particular order. They're just as I thought of them. But the first one is that we live on a pretty small homestead. We're on about 2 acres. And so for us, we always thought that the way that we would get our milk cow bred back would be by AI. And we have found that it's not always as easy as you might think to find an AI tech or to find a vet that will do AI. In fact, we have not been able to find anyone in our entire area. So you really have to be thinking about that when it comes time for breeding your milk cow back. How are you going to get that done? Are you going to take her somewhere so that she can be covered by a bull? Are you going to have a bull come to your property? Are you going to have a younger bull and then maybe process that for meat later on? Or are you going to be able to do AI? Are you going to need to learn to do AI yourself? All of these things are things that you need to think about, and I wish I kind of knew. I always just assumed you could find a vet or an AI tech and it would be absolutely no big deal, but that has not been the case for us because in our area, there's not a lot of other people that have dairy cows. Another thing that I wish I would have known beforehand is that the amount of milk your cow produces can greatly vary from day to day. Maybe this is super obvious and it's just me, but it can really vary depending on a lot of different things. So we could have a really rainy day and the next day maybe not get a lot as far as production because she was trying to get out of the rain the whole day and not necessarily snacking on hay. You're also going to have different levels of milk production depending on where she's at in her heat cycle. So if she's about to start heat or right in the middle of that cycle, you might have a decrease in your milk production. If the hay that you decide to give her, she decides that day that she doesn't like it and she doesn't want to eat it, well, the next day you might have a decrease in production. All of these things are things that can be worked around and they're no big deal, but it's something that I just wasn't accounting for. And it's something to know if you're going to get a dairy cow, you're definitely not going to have as steady of a milk flow all the time as if you knew that you could just go to the store and pick up 6 gallons. It's going to fluctuate on what you get every day. So it sounds obvious, but I wasn't thinking about it beforehand. And on the topic of milk production, let's talk a little bit about calf sharing. This was something that I wish someone had encouraged me on. You really get online and you see that people either love calf sharing or they hate it, which sounds super intimidating because you're like, I really need to have this figured out. I need to decide. And for a lot of people, the reasons that they don't want to calf share, they're pretty big deals. And it really sounds like it's going to be more tricky than it is. And I just want to say, I wish I would have known, and I hope I can encourage you that if you do decide to calf share, it's way easier than you might think. It's way less complicated than you might think. It's really great. We have enjoyed our experience a lot with calf sharing. Now, we wish that he were weaned at this point, but we are keeping him on her until she's bred. That way, if she has to go with the bull and go spend some time there, he can go with her and he can take care of milking her. But it has not been a problem. At this point, he is separated from her at night and they are together for about 4 to 5 hours a day. He gets plenty of milk. They get to spend time together and we get our milking on that once a day cycle in the morning. But it is really not as difficult as everybody says that it is. And in fact, we have found that as first-time dairy owners, it was ideal because we could worry a little bit less about being perfect in our milking because he was going to be taking the rest of that milk. So it's not as big of a deal as you might think, and we have really, really enjoyed calf sharing. So this next one, I think, might be one of the most important ones on this list. And it's going to sound really obvious at first, but hang with me because I do have something to say here. This is a cow. This is not a dog. And I know, obviously, it's not a dog, right? But I think a lot of times on social media, we see people with their cows, with their dairy animals, and they are just so docile. They're with their family members, the kids. Everything looks very picturesque. It looks like you just got this happy-go-lucky cow out in the field, and everything is great. And while it is great to have a dairy cow, that is not always the case. We have a cow with an attitude, and she does not like children. So this is not an animal that's like a family pet necessarily, and all cows have different personalities. So what you might see online with someone's dairy animal who really is fine with kids being around or is fine with anybody approaching her, that's not the case with ours. We love our sweet Sylvie girl, but she does have a little bit of an attitude. She's got her 2 favorite people, and that's about it. She is not a fan of anybody else. So if you're thinking of getting a dairy animal, the thing to know is that you might get a dairy cow that is just great with your children, has been around children a lot. Maybe that's something that you want to look for, but our cow had not. So because of that, our kids cannot be in the field with the cow. They cannot be near if we're transferring her from one field to the other. She does not like children, so much so that she will charge the children if she were to see them. She has headbutted the fence quite aggressively when one of our children was standing too close. So while we adore her and she's a valuable member of our homestead, she is not safe for our kids to be around. And this is definitely a large animal that you do have to exercise caution when handling. Along those same lines, let's talk about horns. So some milk cows have horns and some don't. This again was something that I just did not know until I was looking for a family milk cow for us to buy. And that is one of the things that you need to think about when you're looking into getting a family milk cow. Do you want a cow with horns or not? We chose to go with one that was polled, does not have horns, because of what I just told you in the previous point. They are not pets. They are unpredictable, and they can often just have an attitude at random times. So when you are in the middle of your cow's heat cycle, you're going to have a completely different acting cow than maybe the rest of her cycle. She might be kind of nice, normal, and then you hit heat and she's crazy. She is kicky in the stanchion. She has a little bit of an attitude. If you've got a cow that has a new calf, that can also be sometimes dangerous because they're very protective of their calf. So we did not want to deal with horns. We knew that as first-time dairy cow owners, we weren't super experienced, and we really wanted to make sure that we weren't worrying about that as well. So when you're looking for a cow to buy, that is definitely something to consider. The next thing that I didn't know and that I wish someone could have encouraged me on or told me, and so I'm here to tell you, is that there are a lot of different ways to go about milking a cow. Now, I think we've all heard of hand milking or machine milking. Of course, those are the two options. But I always saw people in videos where, one person was milking. So the man was milking or the woman was milking, and they would get up early before their family and they would go milk the cow and they'd come back in for breakfast. That's kind of what you saw. And that's what I thought we were going to do. I thought that we would milk together for a time and then I would take over. And that has not been the case. We are still here all these months later milking together. And the reason for that is it's just faster. It's easier. My arms don't get as tired and we can get it done quicker, and we just enjoy doing it that way. I can, of course, milk by myself, and my husband can as well, and we have done that when we need to. But I just want to encourage you that you can do this as a two-person thing. You don't have to do it exactly like how you see everyone else online doing it. It is totally okay to continue to milk with two people or to milk by yourself if you want. There's lots of different ways to do this, and none of them are wrong as long as your cow is healthy and you're getting the milk that you need. So what we do is we hang out in the morning, we eat breakfast as a family, and then we come out around 8:30 or 9. My husband and I milk while my kids play outside, and we get it done that way. It is not bright and early first thing in the morning, and I am not doing it on my own. Now, we do hand milk. I will say that if I had the money for a machine milker and wanted to go that route, I don't think it's a bad route. I don't think that you need 2 cows to have a machine. I could see a lot of times when that would be beneficial. And if we did have a machine, then I would just do that on my own. So that would save my husband a little bit of time. And I'm definitely not saying that we would never do that. We very well might. But for now, we are enjoying hand milking with the two of us. Let's talk about the actual act of milking and some things that we have found to be helpful. So build a milk stanchion. At first, I saw a lot of videos where so-and-so would just tie their cow up in the middle of the field. And I'm like, wow, that looks so majestic. Cows are just so habit trained, and you can totally do that, and that's great. And no. As soon as we saw our cow and as soon as I got underneath that cow for the first time, I realized that I was going to want a milking stanchion. It's just something that makes you feel a little bit more secure. You are under a very large animal, very close to them. It is a great way if you need to take a blood draw for a pregnancy test or have a vet examine the cow. It's a great way to restrain the cow, and so that everybody is safe, the cow is comfortable, everybody knows where they need to be, what their positions are. Having a milk stanchion is a must, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be crazy. You can come up with your own thing, but I think it's really important. We also are big fans of tying one of her legs. Now, my husband does milk on the other side, and so he feels super comfortable not tying the leg on his side. But for me, I prefer to have her back leg on my side tied. This just prevents her from being able to have full range of motion of that leg and kick out at me or kick the bucket or anything like that. It just keeps everybody a little safer. And as far as the buckets, we have gone with the 2-bucket system. So we milk into one smaller bucket, and about halfway through the milking, we will dump that into a larger bucket just to make sure that if she does put her foot in the bucket or something crazy like that, which I think has only happened one time, we still have some milk that we had already poured into the other bucket. So that's something that we find to be really helpful. Now, I know that this is not an exhaustive of exactly everything that you should look for when you're looking for a family milk cow or everything that you need to know, but I feel like there are a lot of great videos like that already. I can definitely make one if you'd like. We do have a mini Jersey and we are on small acreage, so it is a little bit different there. But I just wanted to list some random things that I kind of wish that I knew to hopefully fill the gaps if you are looking for a family milk cow and wondering what you should know. If you enjoyed this video, I really think that you would like this video over here. You should watch that next. And until next time, I hope that you're having a great day, and I will see you in the next video.